Motion to accept and file the report.
Motion to file. Second by Ms. Bakhtiari. Procedural motion to file the audit report. So
the vote is open.
Vote is open.
Please vote. The vote is closed.
Okay, thank you. That item, in fact, has been filed now. There's been a motion and a second to open the public hearing, so let's open that vote.
Mr. Chair, please repeat the mover and seconder.
That would be myself and Mr. Hillis, I believe.
The vote is open. Vote is closed.
All right, public hearing is open. I've been handed a list with the following speakers. Mr. Johnson, are you still with us?
Mr. Chair, I need to read the 3 captions, please.
Well, that's a crackerjack idea. Please proceed.
Item 22-0-1281. An ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis to amend Chapter 130 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to adjust the taxes, assessment, service fees, and charges for solid waste services specified therein, including funding street-based sanitary services and general common good sanitary services through the City of Atlanta General Fund, to formalize the administrative hearing procedure for the resolution of disputes, to obtain certain other provisions of Chapter 130 of the Code, and for other purposes. The next item, 22-0-1282. An ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis to amend Chapter 130 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to adjust the taxes, assessments, service fees, and charges for solid waste services specified therein, including the establishment of a sanitary assessment for street-related sanitary services and general common good-related sanitary services based on taxable property value, to formalize the administrative hearing procedure for the resolution of disputes, to update certain other provisions of Chapter 130 of the Code, and for other purposes. Next item, 22-0-1283, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis to amend Chapter 130 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to adjust the taxes, assessments, service fees, and charges for solid waste services specified therein, including solid waste collection and recycling charges, charges for street-related sanitary services based on equivalent trip generation, charges for general good-related sanitary services based on a property's under-roof square footage, to formalize the administrative hearing procedure for the resolution of disputes, to update certain other provisions of Chapter 130 of the Code, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Okay, it's been established that Mr. Johnson had to leave. Ms. Roach, you're next. Or are you going to say something different?
Once again, well, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Hillis for presenting these 3 options, and I just urge you to support the first one, that it should be funded out of the general fund, because this is like a public service and it benefits everyone. It's kind of an amorphous thing, and I think this is just the best way to do it, and the other 2 are just a little bit too convoluted. But I do appreciate your work on this, and it would be just lovely to get this completed and closed once and for all. So thanks for your work on this.
Amen. Ms. McKillips, followed by Ms. Wathen.
Just add to my prior comments, and I'm sure many of you recognize my name. I was the lead plaintiff in the lawsuit. I don't want to go through it again. The documents that we had to pull and the depositions were crazy. But if you look at what other municipalities do within Georgia and outside of Georgia, they all pay it from the general fund. I'm not sure why Atlanta needs to be unique. We're not a unique city. We're just like Cleveland and Detroit and Dallas and the bigger cities and the smaller cities. Department of Public Works, even the fleet vehicles, is all for the betterment of the city. So why wouldn't you pay everything through the general fund just like you do pothole repairs and road repairs? It's all the same for the betterment of the city, and I don't think condos particularly who have been segregated to pay the bulk of the extra budget items. So we do ask that you take the first option, the 1281, but that appeal process is not realistic. And I don't know how many of you up there have mortgages where your taxes and insurance are escrowed, but keep in mind that it would be nice to have their ability to appeal. If they don't see the error, because they don't see their escrow account except maybe once a year, how do they know there's been an error? And that's basically the other to the trip charges is crazy because we don't even get a trip. They can't even get to our property. Our property happens to be circulated by completely private property, the shopping center, Buckhead Station, the MARTA property, and Terminus. They can't get to our property, and many others, they cannot get within the streets of the building itself. Why would we pay a trip charge for services that we don't receive? That's my comments. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Ms. Swanton. Okay. She has had to leave, I see. A motion by Mr. Wan to close the public hearing, seconded by Mr. Winston. So let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right. Public hearing is closed. And these items are now before us. Mr. Wan.
Thank you. I'd like to take the first item, 22-01281, and kind of grind on this one a little bit. I want to ask the law department to come up. I need some clarification on the appeals process claims that have been made. As I'm looking at the legislation, I see sections 51 and 52 that establish an appeals board as well as maintains judicial review rights. So if someone could reconcile what we're hearing versus what I'm seeing, that would be helpful.
Hi, good morning. Lauren Clayton with the Law Department. So the appeals process is an outgrowth of the administrative dispute process. The administrative dispute process actually explicitly excludes a customer from filing an administrative review on behalf of a class. So the argument made earlier that it precludes class action lawsuits is actually incorrect. This is for individual customers, see their bill, don't like what they see, appeal to the department. Department makes a decision, and then if they don't like that decision, they can appeal. And so only individual customers are required to exhaust their administrative remedies before filing suit.
Okay, but as you just said, and let me make sure I understand, the capacity and ability for class actions against this still remain.
Yeah, because those people that process is actually excluded from this process baked into the ordinance.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. The next question I have is, I'm guessing that this appeals process, appeals board even, is set up similarly to our water appeals board process, right?
Correct. We actually worked really closely with the attorneys in our office who represent Watershed to kind of talk about what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and how to set it up properly, yes.
Okay, and it's almost similar also to like property value assessments. There is an appeals board that is set up that kind of is the first step to hear individual, I appreciate the clarification around individual disputes, and then you can continue escalating that if you're not happy with the decisions that are made at each step, correct?
That's
all
correct.
The way up to the courts?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, that's helpful. Mr. Chair, just for the sake of conversation, and since this paper is before us, I'd like to go ahead and offer an amendment that is before everybody. Everyone has a copy. So I'm going to make a motion to amend. Colleagues, you have a printed copy before you. Essentially what it does is it establishes a sunset period of 2 years certain for the solid waste and recycling fees that are in this particular ordinance. And depending on which moves forward, I'm going to try and attach this to all three, depending on which goes forward. But this also asks during that period that the administration review best practices, ways to improve operational and financial efficiencies, to look at other models other cities, other municipalities are doing, and then to come back with a way, a recommendation to improve improve the operations or even the rate fees. I said during the last meeting that I wanted something that essentially holds the administration's feet to the fire in terms of continually improving operations versus just let's do a fee study on inefficient operations. And I hope that this kind of bumper guards on the time will achieve that. This also builds in this note. We're so bad at establishing fees and then letting them go stale over time, and so they kind of go out of sync with what the operations are and end up continuing to create financial deficits in these enterprise funds. So for all those reasons, I move to amend to attach this amendment to the paper that's before us.
Okay, motion's been made and properly seconded by Mr. Hillis. So the
Okay. No, I mean, the amendment, I'm actually glad to see this because I was actually preparing something similar, so thank you, Councilmember Wan. Obviously, the concern was that we hadn't done a comprehensive pay study to actually look into efficiencies that we could improve, because obviously the concern always is how this will affect legacy homeowners and also renters, because we know that this burden will be offset to them by a lot of property owners. So the only main thing I was concerned about was adding common good fees to the first sentence, in addition to recycling and solid waste and recycling as well.
I would ask Ms. Grant if law has any objections to that change.
Good morning. I would say at this time adding common goods to the first sentence would not be advisable, simply because we are sunsetting the provisions on solid waste and recycling. You recall from the rate study that the primary challenge is how to fund the common goods services. So if you sunset the common goods services as well as the solid waste and the recycling, then you have that extra hit to the common goods. I would say that depending on which version passes today, we would not recommend that you sunset the common goods version at this time.
Okay, so rather than sunsetting, I could take a look at maybe a comprehensive pay study instead, not a sunset, an additional sister paper.
That would be acceptable, yes.
Okay, I will revisit that and then come back, but understood for now.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments about Mr. Wan's proposed amendment? I do want to comment. I want to express my appreciation to the administration for, dialoguing with us as we've tried to grapple with this very painful subject. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
On amendment.
The vote is closed.
All right, the amendment has been adopted unanimously.
I'll second that.
Bakhtiari's voice preceded yours, and so, but the motion to adopt as amended is now before us. Mr. Hillis.
Yeah, so just wanted to thank my colleagues for working through this. I believe it started last year before a number of members were up here. I agreed to introduce 3. The original proposal was 2, and my question was, well, why isn't one of the options, one of what is considered best practice of moving special common good services to the general fund. And so thank you to the Law Department for preparing that legislation to accompany the other two. I have always supported 22-0-1281, which is what we're on right now, and that is moving those special good common good services to the general fund. So thanks again to the administration, Law Department included in that, and my colleagues. Looking forward to resolving this. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Let's open the vote on the motion to adopt as amended.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, it's adopted as amended unanimously. Colleagues, what's your pleasure regarding the remaining options?
I'd like them both to be read in together so we can take action to file both at the same time.
All right, they've already been read in
Okay.
for these purposes, correct?
Okay, I'll make a motion
Yes,
to
Mr. Chair.
file 22-0-1282 and 22-0-1283.
Second by Winston. Questions or comments? Let's open that vote. Motion to file
The vote is open.
the competing two items. Take it up on appeal.
Councilmember Lewis. The vote is closed.
Those two items move forward with a file recommendation to full council. So let's take up the remaining companion piece, which has been held. It's item number 15. It is 22-0-1280, substitute ordinance by City Utilities Committee, an ordinance and charter amendment by Councilmember Hillis, a substitute by City Utilities Committee, to amend the charter of the City Council, details which follow in terms of the section, to amend the authority of the city to charge and collect taxes and assessments for sanitary and solid waste disposal services, and to establish and collect rates, fees, and charges for the same, to authorize the adoption of an administrative procedure for the resolution of disputes regarding the basis of a sanitary and solid waste tax or assessment against a property, and for other purposes. Mr. Hillis.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Shook. I would just ask that Ms. Grant come up and explain. This is a charter amendment, and although it has already had a first adoption in full council, when it comes to us this coming Tuesday in full council, that'll actually be considered its first adoption because it came back to committee and wasn't subsequently moved forward in that next meeting. So we're having to restart the clock on the charter amendment. So, Ms. Grant, hopefully I've covered that. I don't know if as eloquently as you do, but if you'd like to add anything.
No, sir, wouldn't add a thing. It was absolutely perfect. That is correct. Procedurally, we did have a bit of a need to restart, and substantively, the substitute is before you because we wanted to remove some language regarding the city's ability to charge front footage fee. If you recall, when the charter amendment was first drafted, we did not have the crystal ball to know which version we were going to move forward with, and so it was pretty wide sweeping. We included a couple of versions of methodology of charging the rates in the charter amendment. So we have removed any reference to front footage fee, cleaned up some other language to keep the charter amendment to the bare minimum so that we're not fitzing around with the charter too much.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Grant. And on that note and mention of a substitute, I'll make a motion to bring forth the substitute.
Okay, second by Mr. Wan. And did you want to comment on it? Okay. Are there any other questions or comments about bringing the substitute forward? Seeing none, let's open that procedural vote.
The vote is open.
Bring it before us. All right, substitute is unanimously before us. Mr. Wan.
Yeah, it's just a quick procedural question. So the clock is restarted on this as a charter amendment because we're substituting or because we didn't complete it in a consecutive sequence?
The latter, sir.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
so the state law requires 2 consecutive adoptions, and we kind of sort of missed the clock.
Okay. But, so that said, we're still on track, though.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. Moving forward today takes us to the first adoption on the 21st, and then the final adoption on July 5th. And they must be regularly scheduled meetings, 2 consecutive regular scheduled meetings.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve on substitute, second by Ms. Bakhtiari. If there's nothing else, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, it's adopted as substituted unanimously. All right, that takes us to our consent agenda, items which will come back to us next time. Are we reading these in this week?
Mr. Chair, yes, we have to read those.
All right, you keep saying that, but other committees don't do it. But go ahead.
Item 22-0-1481, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in the amount of $1,500,000.00 to transfer funds from the Watershed Reserve for appropriations and add funds to the asphaltic concrete pavement milling and resurfacing project and for other purposes. 22-0-1482, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes budget in the amount of $50,000.00 to transfer funds from the 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes for appropriations and add funds to the SG4 East Lake Outfalls, East Lake Trunk Replacement, and Sugar Creek Trunk Capacity Relief Project, and for other purposes. Item 22-0-1483, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes budget in the amount of $666,472.81 to transfer funds from the Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes for appropriations and add funds to the Sewer Group 4 Small Diameter Rehabilitation Project, Contract B, and for other purposes. Item 22-0-1484, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 budget for the Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes in the amount of $2,000,000.00 to transfer funds from the 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes for appropriations and add funds to the Small Water Meter Installation Project and for other purposes. Item 22-0-1485, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee to ratify services rendered in connection with the agreement FC 10118 Cooperative Purchase Agreement for Small Water Meter Installation and Replacement Service with K.M. Davis Contracting Incorporated via Cobb County Water System Contract FY 18 through 19, new water meter installations for small water meter installation and replacement services on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management beginning June 14, 2022, to authorize the mayor or his designee to exercise the third renewal option on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a term of 1 year, retroactively effective from June 14, 2022. Term of 1 year, retroactively effective from June 14, 2022 through June 13, 2023, in an amount not to exceed $2,000,000.00 in accordance with Section 2-1163, subsection C of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Okay, thank you. And being first reads, we'll take those up next time. That takes us to our regular agenda, item J, ordinances for second read, first of which is 22-0-1456, an ordinance by members Bond, Waits, Winston, Amos, Dozier, Bakhtiari, Wan, Shook, Norwood, Hillis, Boone, Overstreet, and Lewis, authorizing the Department of Watershed Management to expand the Care and Conserve Program to include funding to persons eligible for assistance under the Care and Conserve Program who have experienced certain property impact related to water infrastructure and for other purposes. So Mr. Wan's going to make a...
Hold on.
Ms. Ellis.
I'll defer to, since he's made that motion.
I asked the commissioner to explain why they need a little bit more time to finesse the language on this.
And just for the record, I've been contacted by Mr. Bond, who's quite keen on moving this forward, and so we're going to need to have a discussion, boring into the need to hold it and what can't be worked out.
Absolutely. Good morning, Council Members Makita Brown and Commissioner, Department of Watershed Management. Respectfully asking for this legislation to be held. We're still working with Department of Law to work out the details. We're about 80% there. We're drafting the legislation that we like to put forth, but we should probably have it ready, I would say, within the next cycle.
And what's the hang-up? What's the other 20%?
Well, we're just, again, working with Department of Law, doing our due diligence with bond requirements, with bond counsel, and just want to make sure we've got the absolute right language for expansion of the program. Met with Department of Law yesterday, and again, we're close, and we're still committed to putting this forward.
All right. I'll come back, but I need to recognize Mr. Lewis.
And my question to you would be, if you don't have the paper ready in the next cycle, would you be in support of us moving this paper forward?
We can make a commitment to have it ready for the next cycle.
But I would want to know if you don't have it, because if you don't have it, can we move this forward? Because people need help. We have people, we're having a lot of flooding going on the south side of the city. When you think about infrastructure, as we're building, floods are coming. These floods didn't used to happen in my area. We have kids that, as you know, that are walking through a pond almost to get to South Atlanta High School anytime it rains. And so we also have houses and things that are happening. So we're really going to need the administration or the law department, whoever's supposed to be doing this portion, to have it ready for the next meeting, because my phone is ringing off the hook about this.
I understood, CM Lewis, and we'll make a commitment to have it ready. Right, you're welcome.
Here's my question. So Monday's a holiday. Can this not be worked out by Tuesday?
I believe that we can. Department of Law? You don't think so?
Mr. Shook, Roger Bandar, Law Department. What has to happen is we have to go through certain steps to make sure we're in comportment with the bond ordinance, the master bond ordinance, and the gratuities clause of the state constitution. So we have to have some expert analysis done, and realistically, I don't think we can get that done by Tuesday.
And why is bond counsel's opinion needed?
You have to similar to how we set up the original Care and Conserve program back in, I think, 2014, you have to make sure what you're doing when you're using water and sewer revenues is actually of some type of system benefit. In other words, you can't just give away the money. The money has to be used in some direct or indirect methodology to benefit the system in order to comply with the Master Bond Ordinance.
Yeah, but doesn't the funding for this program come from rentals, from signal tower rentals?
Sorry, some of it comes from watershed, I believe, directly.
Some of it comes from our water sewer bond money, yes.
Anything else? Mr. Hills?
I actually have a question on something, I guess, related but unrelated. We talked about watershed revenues, and this committee long ago asked for the list of non-payers.
Yes.
And I know that you have approved that. Unless I missed something, we've not received it, and I believe the last communication was that it was in the administration's
I
to
think
approve
we
and release
submitted
to
it
us.
it was approved. I think we submitted it for you guys per your request. I can check on that.
Yeah, if you would check
Right
for the
after this
administration,
meeting.
'cause I wouldn't think that council members need to put in an open records request to get,
Yeah, absolutely not. The information was compiled and submitted
Yes,
per your
I'm saying
request.
you've done your job, but that needs to get pushed on through.
I will check on that.
Requested earlier this year, so.
I'll check on that right after this
Thank you,
meeting.
Commissioner.
So, Mr. Juan, had you made a motion to hold, and did we have a second for that? We were lacking a second. Okay, Ms. Bakhtiari has made a second. I just want to note, again, on behalf of Mr. Bond, he couldn't be here this morning because he had a prior engagement that he had to attend. I will say we've all had a very kind of serious and earnest conversation, and you've participated and helped that along, and I know you are in agreement with us about the need to find a pathway forward that doesn't involve deciding we're going to ignore claims, and so I appreciate your leadership on that. So, I think the case has been made that it just has to be held, but we're going to expect the other 20% to be done by next time. Okay, let's open the vote if there's nothing else.
The vote is open.
Just to hold.
The vote is closed.
All right, it's unanimous. Items held. That takes us to Section K resolutions, first of which is item 1122R3710. This is a resolution by Ms. Bakhtiari authorizing the Mayor's Office of Resilience to require the Clean Energy Advisory Board to provide the Atlanta City Council with quarterly updates on the initiatives and programs related to the Clean Energy Plan and for other purposes.
So I'm going to motion to hold, being that we've actually, I'm in the process of speaking with the Office of Resilience now to where we'll be starting these. They're already in the process of starting quarterly updates in August, so we're going to go ahead and hold this until then, since that's already.
Let me make a okay. There's been a motion and a second. Let me just offer a crabby observation. Quarterly reports started with me.
Right.
In this committee when years ago a particular department that's under this committee's purview was bedeviled by a great number of extremely public problems and issues, and to show our desire and support that the public be kept informed and that these items be remediated as quickly as possible. We wanted to see quarterly updates showing that progress. Quarterly reports now are a regular feature of the landscape. I regret my role in starting that. I think we as chairs particularly have allowed these things to become way too long. We don't need to hear what your mission statement is. We know why you're here. These things should be 15 minutes and not 30 minutes each. And for a program that's as vast and it's going to take so long to accomplish, does it
If I can
have to be quarterly?
So the reason why is because currently, I think we can all agree, as we've heard about flooding and everything else, climate change is the largest issue that the city faces, especially as Atlanta stands to be the largest climate refugee city probably on the eastern coast. And we do not have a current director of resilience, and this office is being folded back under another office, which means further deprioritization of resiliency sustainability, which greatly worries me. So to put pressure on the administration and prioritize resiliency and sustainability and pressure us to hire a director for this office and actually renew our commitment to the Clean Energy Act and everything that was promised, which we have failed at doing, in my opinion, miserably. This is an opportunity for us that we can change it to not quarterly, but something less. But the intention here is to put pressure on us hiring a director, prioritizing resiliency and the Clean Energy Plan once again, and actually spotlighting this with the public and making sure that we're actually being transparent about stuff's being taken. Because in my opinion, this has been catastrophically deprioritized, but that's where I stand.
Understood. Well, we're holding it. I
Yes,
would just
we are holding it.
invite you to consider the possible merits of maybe a biannual.
Councilmember Shook, I know how much you love quarterly updates. I'm just going to keep on motioning
Well,
for these.
Call a question.
So
An amendment to make them monthly?
yeah. So here's, I'm going to have to walk the talk, and you commissioners out there, I'm going to start cracking the whip on quarterly reports. There's a lot of blood on my hands in terms of allowing them to morph into reports that take about a quarter to deliver. So motion's been made and properly second to hold. If there's something else, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Okay, thank you. Motion is held by unanimous consent. 22R 3719 is a resolution by the Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor's designee to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with South Fulton, Georgia, on behalf of Watershed Management for the purpose of adjusting water and sewer facilities that are in conflict with the City of South Fulton's culvert replacement project, number of which is listed here: Enon Road over Camp Creek tributary, in an amount not to exceed $53,000 U.S. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from, etc. Ms. Martin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kathy Martin. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Administration for the Department of Watershed Management. The City of South Fulton is sponsoring a culvert replacement project at Enon Road over the Camp Creek tributary in South Fulton. This proposed project includes construction of a new culvert to replace an existing one. Therefore, DWM has facilities that present a conflict and need to have a scope of work that will include adjusting, relocating, and replacing 140 linear feet of 12-inch water lines and one fire hydrant to accommodate the project. The purpose of the legislation is to authorize the City of Atlanta to enter into this intergovernmental agreement with the City of South Fulton to adjust those facilities that are impacted by the culvert replacement by South Fulton in an amount not to exceed $53,000 for construction services.
Questions, comments?
Second.
Motion to approve by Juan, second by Hillis. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, resolution is adopted. 22R 3720 is a resolution by Utilities authorizing the mayor designee to execute the First Amendment to the agreement, the number of which is indicated, e-Builder software support and training services with e-Builder Inc. on behalf of Watershed, to add funding to add the Easy File Transfer Tool in an amount not to exceed $4,010. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from, etc. Ms. Rackley, how are you?
Doing wonderful. Daphne
Excellent.
Rackley, Deputy Chief Information Officer, and as read in, this is an amendment to add $4,010 for the purchase of a plug-in. Basically, it's a plug into e-Builder to allow for the easy transfer of data for backup purposes and other purposes that may be needed by the department. Any questions?
It's plug-in.
It's a plug-in.
They don't offer clap-on. A motion by Juan, second by Winston. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Thank you. 6-0. Items approved. 22R 3721 is a resolution by City Utilities Committee to amend the resolution 21R 3678 adopted by Council on August 20th of 21 and approved by operation of law August 11th of the same year to correct certain funding sources for the agreement, the number of which is indicated. This is a solar energy program with Cherry Street Asset Management Holding, LLC. Contracted work will be charged to and paid from, etc. Mr. Davis.
It's Remy Santil, Commissioner Deem. Good afternoon. This legislation just is as stated. It's just simply correcting the funding sources for this particular agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Hillis. Let's open that. Oh, Mr. Warren.
Yeah, this is a question from Renance. This is a lot. I mean, usually correction of accounts is just one or two. Why? This is like 20 of them. What happened?
Not everyone at once.
Everybody at once.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the Clean Energy Programs Associate. My name's Michelle Madonier. I'm not sure why the accounts needed to be changed, but I think per the resolution, there was purview under different departments, so the Department of Parks and Rec and the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department. So there is a lot of accounts that need to be changed, but the representatives from the departments double-check these.
Can someone give me an answer, or I'm going to make a substitute motion to condition this, which I know the chair doesn't want to do, so we'll have to report on Tuesday.
Robert Moses, Law Department. What happened here was the wrong version of the document was uploaded into ELMS. The DocuSign version was correct, but a snafu occurred.
Thank you. That answers my question.
Thankfully. Okay, we had a motion and a second. If there's something else, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Items approved. All right, we have 4 items stirring from held, the first of which is item number 15. The administration is proposing a substitute. Let me read the caption in case.
We voted on that one,
Oh.
Mr. Chair.
Thank God. All right, we're doing really well here. All right, next is I need some cough medicine. All right, next is item 16. This is, and let's take 16 along with 17 if we may. 16 is 22-0-1334, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the CFO to amend the FY 2022 series 2018 D wastewater bond budget in the amount of $1,572,750.50 to transfer funds from the Wastewater Environmental Impact Bond Fund, and add funds to the account indicated, which is Green Infrastructure and Landscape Services for construction of the Mosley Park Green Infrastructure Project, and for the Grove Park Green Infrastructure Project, and for other purposes.
Mr. Chair, there is a substitute.
I will make a motion to, is it the caption different?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, good. Thanks for letting me read that. I'll let you sound the substitute caption.
I need a motion to bring the substitute forward, please.
Second.
Shook votes nay. All right, I'm an aye.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. A substitute ordinance by City Utilities Committee, an ordinance to amend Ordinance 21-00438, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on August 16th, 2021, and approved by operation of law per City Charter Section 2-403 on August 25th, 2021, to correct the not-to-exceed amount, to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2022 Series 2018 D Wastewater Bond Fund budget in the amount of $1,572,750.50, to transfer funds from the Wastewater Environmental Impact Bond Fund and add funds to RFP S-1210111, Green Infrastructure and Landscape Services for construction of the Mosley Park Green Infrastructure Project and the Grove Park Green Infrastructure Project, and for other purposes. There is also a substitute for item number 17.
All right, well, we've already, read in the substitute version. We've accepted the substitute, so let's just, wrap that up. Any questions or comments about the substitute that's before us? I will make a motion to approve on substitute. A second by Ms. Bakhtiari. If there's nothing else, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Thank you. Item's adopted on substitute. That takes us to item 17, and could you please sound the proposed substitute caption?
A substitute ordinance resolution by City Utilities Committee, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to Agreement RFP-S-1210111 Green Infrastructure and Landscaping Services with ECLRAC Joint Venture on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management to add funding for the Grove Park Infrastructure Project and the Mosley Park Green Infrastructure Project in an amount not to exceed $1,572,750.50, to add funding for routine landscaping activities and other Department of Watershed Management facilities in an amount not to exceed $208,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account number listed herein and for other purposes.
Motion's been made and seconded. Let's open that procedural vote.
The vote is open. Please vote. The vote is closed.
All right, substitutes before us. I'll make a motion to adopt on substitute. Second by Mr. Warren. If there's nothing further, let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, items unanimously been adopted on substitute. Our final item, also held, is item 1822R3654, a resolution by Utilities authorizing mayor or designee to execute an agreement for the number indicated upgrades to Hemp Hill Pump Station with WPS LLC on behalf of Watershed Management for a term to commence on the date a notice of receipt is issued for a period of 730 days for substantial completion and 821 days for final completion in amount not to exceed $13,771,047. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from, etc. You will recall that we held this so that the iPro could catch up. The iPro is before you, there were two findings. Let's hear about those.
Good afternoon, Councilman Quentin Fletcher, Department of Watershed Management. The purpose of this resolution is to enter into agreement for the repairs at the Hemp Hill Pumping Station. Originally constructed in 1876 and upgraded in 2000, this contract will implement upgrades and replacement of the 3 existing finished water VFDs, valve actuators, and switch gears. Returning this facility into operation will serve as a backup for the Hemp Hill Electric Pumping Station. These upgrades will assist with providing reliable water pressure in the distribution system, the downtown area. On behalf of the department, the City of Atlanta Department of Procurement advertised for 3 proposals for IFB-C-122-0148, upgrades to the Hemp Hill Pumping Station. DOP deemed 3 of the bids responsive. All 3 bids were evaluated. Based on the information submitted and the evaluation criteria established for this project, WWPS LLC was recommended as the most responsive bidder. WWPS LLC has completed work and projects with the city in the past. The Department of Watershed Management established strategic plan SP 2022 with priorities including infrastructure reliability, operation efficiency, and compliance. This contract will assist with meeting those priorities and performing critical maintenance improvement identified within the capital improvement plan. Subject to your questions, that concludes my briefing.
All right, thank you. I'll just note for the record that the IPRO, for which we were waiting, had the following findings. DOP issued 4 addenda. That's a little more than we normally like to see. And then also, procurement received 3 responses for this solicitation and deemed all bidders responsive. However, IPRO found a responsive bidder indicated the company had a written safety program but did not provide as such information as required, but that's not the one that's is getting the job up for the job, right? So
correct.
I don't see those as fatal. Questions or comments? Mr. Hillis.
I just make a request on both this legislation and the previous legislation that referenced the project in Grove Park. Those are both in District 9. If I could get like a 1 or 2 pager on the extent of these projects, I would greatly appreciate it.
Will do.
I'll make a motion to approve. Oh, yes. Second.
Yeah. Okay, we have a first and a second to amend in the IPRO report, so let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, item stands amended. I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Second by Winston. If there's nothing else, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Item's been adopted as amended. Does that conclude our business items today?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Any announcements, comments, anything for the general good of the order?
Real quick, for anybody who's listening in, this Thursday at 5 p.m. at Park Grounds in Reynoldstown, I will be joined by DPW and CFO Bala to discuss the solid waste fees more in depth for anybody who's still curious in District 5 or anywhere, actually. If you want to come in and listen, and we'll be doing that, and we'll also be live streaming on social media. So please tune in if you have questions. This is your chance to ask them and for us to address them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Warren.
Public service announcement to my colleagues. Tomorrow, Finance Exec will have the budget before us. I'm asking all amendments be presented. During that session, we are going to grind through that and come out, hopefully, with a recommended budget to move forward on Tuesday to minimize our work at full council. So please get it in. Talk to colleagues. Talk to Mr. Pace. The ones that are presented on Tuesday will have a rough time with me. Thank you.
Okay, and will nurses be coming in every 8 hours to rotate us, Mr. Chairman? That's a no. If there's nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you.